Do you need to use advanced vocabulary to get a high score in the IELTS writing or speaking tests? That's certainly what the so-called experts say. If you've ever searched YouTube or social media for IELTS advice, and obviously you have because here you are, then you've probably seen some of these people confidently tell you that you need to dazzle the examiner with obscure words.
I'll be sharing with you 8 power-packed words to score 8+ bands in your IELTS writing.
The problem is that these people don't know what they're talking about. Most of them don't understand IELTS at all, and a lot of them have terrible English. They pull these random words from the middle of a dictionary, and they promise you that using them will convince the examiner that you're a master of English. The thing is, though, that this just isn't how language works. If your grammar and vocabulary aren't good enough, then you can't make up for that by using 2 or 3 really long words. IELTS examiners are highly trained. They're expert users of English, and they're also really experienced when it comes to assessing the proficiency of English learners. They take into consideration a wide array of factors when listening to you speak or reading your essays. So you can't just slip in words like incomprehensibilities, for example, into your answer and hope that this will give you a better score. Likewise, there are no magical words that can boost your score. YouTube is filled with self-professed IELTS gurus who say otherwise, but these people can't even pronounce the words they're using, nor can they put them into a grammatically correct sentence.
Plethora. So this word you can use for a lot of things. You can say, I have plethora of hobbies.
It really is a terrible state of affairs. These people have made a lot of money by handing out very bad advice, and sadly a lot of desperate people have taken that advice and then lost money by taking the test over and over again. Some of them even lost out on their dream job or the chance to go abroad because they've decided to listen to these charlatans. Charlatans. That's a pretty good word, actually. And you could call it advanced vocabulary because it's kinda rare. Some of you might be yelling at the screen right now telling me that of course advanced vocabulary is helpful for IELTS, and that it specifically says in the band descriptors that you need, quote, less common words in order to score band 7 for IELTS writing. I was wrong. Forget everything I've said up until now. You do need advanced vocabulary after all. Actually, this is a great place to explain what the IELTS examiners really want to see in terms of vocabulary. If we look at the band descriptors over here, we can see that you are meant to use less common and uncommon vocabulary to get a very high score, which some people have taken to mean advanced vocabulary. There are 2 main problems with this though. 1, you have to use these words appropriately and correctly in order for them to have any benefit. Otherwise, they will just backfire on you and lower your score. So it's not enough to just know these words and then cram them into your answer at random. There's also no such thing as a list of advanced words that you must know in order to get a good IELTS score. The people who say that there is such a list almost always pick random words that are unlikely to be of any use in IELTS. What I've always told my IELTS students, be it in a classroom situation, a YouTube lesson, or through my IELTS writing correction service, is that you should aim to use the right words in the right way. To think about using advanced words is always the wrong approach to writing or speaking in English. What I mean is that the appropriate word or phrase is always what you should try to use. Let's say you're in the speaking exam and the examiner asks you what should happen to a certain type of criminal. You want to say that the person should be locked up in prison. So maybe you could say, this type of criminal should be locked up, or this type of criminal should be incarcerated. Both of these answers would be totally fine. The first one was idiomatic and the second one was a bit uncommon in everyday English. They could definitely be used in a band 7, 8 or even a band 9 answer. There's some IELTS tutors out there though who would say, no, they aren't advanced enough. You need a really, really obscure word in order to get a high score. What these people will tell you is to use a dictionary or thesaurus to find a really rare or a really long word that means something similar to locked up. They might stumble upon this word, for example, circumscribe. Well, that looks pretty advanced, huh? It's a 12-letter word, so it would get a lot of points in Scrabble. But would it impress an IELTS examiner? No way. That's because although it appears as a synonym of imprisoned in a thesaurus, it doesn't have exactly the right meaning and therefore it's incorrect. Ultimately, in IELTS you should be aiming for the correct word. If the words you use are uncommon, that's just a bonus, but you should never be aiming for this as your sole goal. Even if you do get them technically right, your sentences will be unnatural and hard to understand, which will count against you. In conclusion, I strongly recommend that you learn vocabulary as groups of words as parts of certain common IELTS topics, and then make sure that each word you use is something you fully understand. Look up examples online to see how native speakers use it. This way might seem slow, but it's actually the best way to learn how to use words. If you just know a long list of vocabulary, that might possibly help you in the reading or listening test, but it won't help you at all in the writing or speaking exams. Remember, the right word is always the best word, even if it doesn't sound advanced enough. If you answer all the questions or write a whole essay using the right words, I promise you that you will have done enough for a high band score.